So, what do folks mean when they say that homeschool kids are behind their public school peers? Hi, my name's Angela. I have unschooled my four kids their entire lives. My eldest three are now college students, all with 4.0 GPAs. I minored in education and I taught at a private school before I had kids, and my husband is a public school mathematics special education teacher. First off, I think it's really important for anybody in the homeschool community to acknowledge that educational neglect does exist, and it is a significant problem in this space. It doesn't help kids to pretend that it doesn't happen. And I understand when academics want to assess success for children in a varying range of educational styles and modes, that they need to stick to a narrow range of variables. But one question that I consistently try to raise when the issue of academic performance comes up when we look at homeschoolers and public schoolers is, why are we only measuring academic success on the same scale that is used in the public school system? Okay, so I guess that's technically two things, but let's take a look at the first one. A lot of the reason that folks homeschool their kids is to give them a diverse range of social and life experiences that you can't get when stuck in an age stratified classroom for 8 hours a day. And I'm not talking about the people who homeschool because they're afraid of the world. That's not what I'm talking about. So if we could isolate for fearful homeschoolers who are often extreme religious homeschoolers, that would be great. A lot of folks homeschool because their children have special needs and they feel that their needs are not being met and their kids are not getting appropriate accommodations and support in the public school setting. And that is causing trauma, shame, and a resistance to learning. Folks also want to give their kids a wider range of social interactions and cultural experiences than they can get in public school. And none of those things are assessed when we look at the studies comparing academic performance. There's a lot more that goes into raising a healthy, well-adjusted child with minimal trauma and the potential to pursue what they want in life than strictly their academics. Not that their academics aren't important. The second thing is that public school kids and homeschool kids rarely learn things at the exact same time. For example, when my 15-year-old was 11, he spent an entire year going down a rabbit hole of Greek mythology, myths, legends, folklore from around the world. He did a ton of reading and learned a ton of history through that experience. Because he was so intensely focused on something that was meaningful to him, he got what you would consider behind on math. But he ended up far ahead of his peers in terms of history, literature, world geography, art history. I could go on. And then he caught up on the math when it was meaningful and important to him. In fact, he tested in 2 grades above grade level when he began an early college program this year. Another anecdotal example here is my 19-year-old who wants to be an attorney. She started college knowing far more than any of her peers about Supreme Court case law, all kinds of case history from Oregon, legal theory, civil rights issues, and American history than your average 18-year-old. But that means that she had studied less science during her high school years than her older sister, who is a science major now. I am very pro-science and yes, let's look at the peer-reviewed literature, but let's also understand that there's limitations, especially when we're looking at niche groups like homeschoolers that face a lot of stigma and also that are so incredibly diverse that you really can't lump them all in together. Because fundy homeschoolers a la Duggar family have an entirely different life and an entirely different way of approaching learning than my kids do. And my kids have had the freedom to explore some subjects far more in depth than they would otherwise, and that means that they might have catch up in some other areas when they enter formal education in college and beyond. And that's okay, because ultimately my goal was to raise well-adjusted children who know their own minds and are able to access learning on their own. I want happy, functional kids, and unschooling was the best way for us to get that for them.